Just a review of slope. Slope is the slant of a line on a graph. This is a positive slope. This is a negative slope. A horizontal line has a zero slope, and a vertical line is called an undefined slope, or no slope. Okay, basics of slope. And then we found out that you can find the slope of a line if you have 2 points anywhere on the graph. So let's say here's a point here on the graph, and let's do a point over here on the graph. Now, if we have a line going through that, I'll try to be straight. There we go. Then all we have to do, we found out that the slope, and M is going to stand for the slope, M will always be how many blocks or how many places, units that I rise. That can be a positive or a negative rise, and then a run. Rise means how far I go up and down. Run means how far I go horizontally. So we're going to find the slope of this line. Now, the way that I ask my students to remember this is, here is a house, here is a house. One of them is my house, one of them is my friend's house. I'm going to go from my house to my friend's house. And I can choose to live in either place, okay? So let's say for right now, this is my house, and I want to go to my friend's house and visit. So I start at my house. I need to know how many blocks I'm going to rise before I have to go the other way to go to her house. So I walk out my front door and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 blocks. I rise 5 blocks. I went up, and so it's a positive 5. And then I look at my watch and say, aha, I'm late. I've got to run. And I'm going to go horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm at her house. Now notice when I ran in the negative direction. This is a negative direction, so it's going to have to be a negative 9. So the slope of the line that we have on our graph is a negative 5/9. Now, I told you that either one of these could be my house. So you don't have to worry about which one you chose to start with. Let's start with this one as my house. And I'm going to go to my friend's house. So I'm going to start out walking out my front door and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before I get ready to turn to go to her house. But if you notice, this time I went in a negative direction. So I have a negative 5. And then I turn and run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. And you notice the direction that I went was in the positive direction this time. And so it's a positive 9. As long as there is a negative anywhere in the fraction, it is the same as this. The negative can float up to the top or the bottom or right out in front, but we never have 2 negatives. We don't leave a negative and a negative if that was the case. So you can see that no matter which point you chose on that line and which direction you went from your home to your friend's home, you're going to get the same slope. Notice also the direction that this is moving. We always look left to right, so it started high and went low. High to low is a negative slope. So this line indicates a negative slope. So the fraction better be negative. You see? The negative slope has to have a negative slope. Are we good? Okay, are we good? Okay, that's just a short review. And then now we're also going to look at what if they want you to find the slope of a line, but they only give you the points and not a graph. Okay, so let's say you don't have access to a graph, although you could always draw one. All right. Then we were given the formula, the formula for finding slope. Remember that M indicates slope. And to find slope, you take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find the slope of any line given the 2 points. So I'll just make up a couple of points. Here's -1, 4. And the other one, let's make it be 2, 0. So this would be just like plotting those 2 points on the graph and counting. Okay? But this time, we don't necessarily have to have a graph because we have the formula. So we always know that the coordinates x comes first, y comes second, x, y. Here are the 1s, here are the 2s, and that's how we know what to plug into our formula here. So I have slope equals, I go find the y2, which is 0, minus, because of this minus right here. When I go to y1, it's 4. And then x2 is 2. The minus is this minus that I'm writing down. So when I go to x1, it has a negative, so this is going to be a double negative. Now I want you to understand that this minus is because the formula says to do it. And then the value of x1 is also a negative. That's why we have 2 of them here. So all we do is do the calculations on top, do the calculations on the bottom, and if we need to, we're going to simplify the fraction. So 0 minus 4 is a -4. On the bottom, we know that if we have 2 negatives together, that's plus, and we have 3. This will not simplify. This is the slope of the line that connects these 2 points. Let's test it. Let's go to -1, 4. That first one, -1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 0. And there's a line going through this. So let's just count and see if we get the same thing. Remember that slope is rise over run. So let's find a house. One of the houses, let's just try this one. And so I'm going to go to my friend's house. In order to find slope, I have to rise first. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got a positive 4 because I went up in a positive direction. Then I turn and run 1, 2, 3 blocks. But if you'll notice, I went in a negative direction, so it has to be a negative 3. And there you are. If we use the formula, we get negative 4/3. If we do the count, we get negative 4/3. So you don't always have to plot the points. You can just use the formula. Any questions? All right. So we're going to look at page 5 in your packet number 2. And make sure that you know how to do some of these problems. And it looks like we may have a relatively short lesson. We'll see here. So this is page 5. What they're doing here, look at number 1. They're giving us a point on a graph. And it says draw a line through that point with this given slope, 2/5. So what they're actually giving us is my house, and we're going to use the slope as a GPS and try to find my friend's house because I've never been there before. Okay? So let's do this number 1 and show you what we're going to be doing here. Number 1 on this page has my house at 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. That's my house. Now, I don't know where my friend's house is yet.
Oh,
But-
you're on 9.
Pardon?
You're on number 9.
I'm on number 1, actually. Right.
Where'd you get number 1?
Is this- 3, 1.
Oh, okay.
You were scaring me. Okay, so this is the point that they gave you on this worksheet. And then they said, the GPS tells us that the slope to get to her house equals 2/5, I think, yes. 2/5. And we know with the slope that this is rise over run. So let's walk out the front door. I'm going to walk out the front door and I have to rise first to get to her house. So it says to rise 2, that means a positive direction, 1, 2, and then I'm going to run in a positive direction again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's where she is. And the last thing they want you to do here is to draw a line between the 2 points. Graph the line. So they give you a point to start out at. They tell you how to get to the other point. And then they ask you to draw a line all the way through. Now, when they say line, instead of line segment, that means it goes on forever and ever. So you're going to put arrows on the end. A line segment would just be a piece of that line, but a line goes on forever.
On
Questions?
mine, yeah, but ours is the opposite, where it goes into the other side. Like it goes down?
You can. You mean the answer?
Yeah.
I see. Well, actually, two, go down 2 and go down 5. Did I, let me see. Okay, this point is at 3, 1, 3, 1. and I'm supposed to rise 2 and run 5. What they might have done, when you plot it this way, you can also plot the other way by making them opposite signs. And so this time, from my house, I could go down 2 and to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I put a straight ruler, these would all be on the same line. So is that, why did they do that? I wonder why they went backwards with the negatives. It's interesting. Okay, I think why they did that on here. Okay, what she's saying is, when I worked this problem, I went up 2, but going to the right, I didn't have enough spaces. So I just changed both signs, and I went down 2 and to the left 5. Okay?
So shouldn't the 5 be negative?
Yes, I went backwards. See, I went down 2 and to the left 5. That's the negative. And the down 2 is negative also.
Yeah.
So you can do both ways. And the points will always, if you do it correctly, will always be on the same line, no matter what. And they went backwards, changed the signs on the fraction because there weren't enough spaces on the picture.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because I was going off and I was,
Because it was going off the picture, so they decided to do it the other way. I'm glad they did that so that I could show that to you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the second one because it has a negative in it. And I want to explain to you. Oh, there we go. The reason I want to explain this one to you is because of the way I was telling you that negatives in fractions work. Let me put it on the board first again and explain. If I have a fraction that's a negative 1/3, this negative can float up or down anywhere it wants. So this one, this negative 1/3 is equal to this negative 1/3 is equal to this negative 1/3 because the fraction has one negative in front. It does not matter if it's on the top or the bottom. They're all the same. Just don't put 2 negatives. A fraction, a negative fraction, can have this negative be anywhere it wants to be. It can be up here, it can be down here, but they all mean the same thing. You okay with that? Okay, so what we're going to do is number 2. And again, it has a point right here at 3 or negative 3, 3, negative 3, 3, and then they give us this negative slope. So negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here's the point that they give us. And they said that we're going to be using a slope, a negative slope this time. And the way they write it is with the negative right out front, which means you can decide, do you want the 4 to be negative or do you want the 7 to be negative? Both of them are not negative. I always like to make the first one negative so I don't forget to make one of them negative. So I take care of the negative right off, but that's just what I like to do. So from that point, I'm going to rise 4, -4, which means I'm actually going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 7 is positive. So I'm going to run to the right 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's the other point. Here are 2 points that have that slope. Now what we're going to do is make the other one a negative and see what happens. So what if I decide, no, I'd rather have the bottom one be negative. Let's see what happens when we do this rise and this run. I'm working at the same starting point, or here, doesn't matter. Okay, the same starting point, but this time it says to go 4, rise, positive. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I run in a negative direction, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I used a straight edge, these would be on the same line. Do y'all see? I'm just not real straight without a straight edge. But no matter whether you put your negative on the top or you put your negative on the bottom, your points will create the same line. Any questions on the negative? How to graph? It can be either way. Now that's what you're going to be doing on that page. Let's go to page 6. This is where we get to use the formula. Let's look at page 6. I'll show you all what this looks like. Now, what they're asking you to do, there's a triangle that's drawn on the graph. The letters are going to help us out. We need to find first, they're wanting us to find the slope of line segment. That's what this little thing means on top, line segment AB. So I need to know what the coordinates of A are and the coordinates of B. If we look here, the coordinates of A, we're on page 6. Look at number 1. We need the coordinates of A. When we're finding just coordinates or addresses of a point, we always start at the origin, which is 0, 0. Okay, and we move in the X direction first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 4, 3. Okay, so our point A, that point is located at 4, 3. And if we're going to find segment AB, hi, Toots.
Good morning.
How are you? We're in packet 2, and we just started on page 6.
Okay.
They have the triangles at the top.
I got it.
Okay, I'm fixing the screen real quick so the recording can see this.
Yeah.
There we are. Nice to see you, Toots. Did you have a good weekend?
It was okay. How about you? I know you had a good weekend, didn't you?
I had a great weekend. You'll have to see pictures later.
Okay.
All right. And now we're going to find the coordinates of AB, because what they want, they wrote this, find the slope of segment AB. So seeing this part, I know I have to use the formula. And seeing this part says it's just a segment. It doesn't go on forever. The endpoints are A and B. So I'll need to know the coordinates of each one of these pieces. So now I'm looking for the coordinates of B. Can you try that, Brandy? I want to know what the coordinates of B.
1.2.
Huh?
No, from 0,
0, and then
you're going to B,
2b. Okay,
and you have to move the X direction first.
it's 3.
3 what? You want to go down to B now.
1.
Look where B is, all the way down there.
It's a -1.
Here's where you are, is at
Oh, wrong.
3. No, this, when you're finding, this is one of the biggest confusions that students make. When we're plotting points, just finding the address, we have to start at the origin and do the X, then the Y.
Okay, so start back at 0.
Uh-huh.
3.
3. And then to get to point B, how far do you have to go down?
2, 3, 4.
And
-4.
I'm pretty sure, yes. Good job.
Miss Deborah, which one are you doing? The number 1?
We're doing number 1 on page 6.
Okay, I got page 6. I just wasn't sure what number. Okay,
So you're okay?
yes,
Make sure you're there.
yes. Okay.
There's a picture of a triangle. I'm going to pause just 1 minute, pause this recording. I have some new students coming in. All right, after we find the coordinates of A and the coordinates of B, then we can use the slope formula to find the slope of segment AB. Now, the way I find where all these X's and Y's are is in our coordinates, we always know that the first one is X. The second one is Y, always. So I have X and Y here. In order that I don't mix these up, I'm going to number these. So here's the 1s. Here are the 2s. Okay? And now all I'm going to do is follow this formula. The slope equals Y2. Where's Y2? -4 minus Y1 is 3 over X2 is right here. And the minus, I have to use this minus 4. X1 is 4. Then all you have to do after this is calculate the top, calculate the bottom, and simplify your fraction. So a -4 minus 3 is like a bunch of negatives put together. So I have -4 and I have a -3, so I really have -7 here. 3 minus 4 will make this a -1. Remember that we never have two negatives together. So this negative cancels out this negative, and I have a positive (7/1). Some places you will see it written as just a 7, but you need to understand that a slope is always rise over run. And so you almost always need a fraction. But if it's a whole number, some people just put it as a plain old 7. So the slope of that one side of that triangle is 7. Do y'all see? Of the AB. Here's kind of what it looks like. I'm not going to put it on the graph. So we have this, and we have this, and we have this. Okay. This is B, this is A, and this is C. So we found out that the length of segment AB from here to here is 7. No, sorry, the slope, silly girl, the slope is 7. Now they want the slope of BC. BC. So I need to know the slope of this line now. Well, I already know that B, the address of B is 3, -4. I found that on the graph. B is 3, -4. A is 4, 3. Now we need to look at our paper and find out what the coordinates of C are. Look at your page, find point C. We're going to try -4, -2. Yes, yes. I was going to say Jose. Jesus, yes. You see, didn't you say +2? So you go -4 and down 2 to get to C. And that's all I need is the address right now. -4, -2. Now, they don't want the length of the line, like I mistakenly said here. They want the slope of this line. So the only 2 points we're going to use are B and C. B and C. So we're going to ignore A for right now. We don't need that for right now. And our second question says, find the slope of BC. Those are the only 2 points we're going to use in this formula. So here's B. We're going to ignore this. So these are the x2s and x1s. Let's make this x and y. I mean, y2. Make these the ones instead of A, because I'm not dealing with A. Are you with me so far?
No.
And holding on? Okay. All right, we're going to use this formula again. And we look for y2. Y2 is right here, -4 minus, because the minus is in the formula, y1. Y1's up there now in the C, -2. Do you see that you have a minus because of the formula, and you have a negative because that's the value of the 2. So you're going to have both of those. And then on the bottom, we have to find x2, which is 3. And it also has a minus. And then I want x1 up there on C again is a -4. Again, when you get these numbers in the right places, all you have to do is do your math on top, do your math on the bottom. And we remember that if we have a minus and a negative right next to each other, it becomes a plus. So negative plus 2 is going to be a -2. And again, the minus and the negative make a plus 7. And so the slope, this won't simplify. And so the slope of segment BC, which is right here, the slope equals a -2/7. 2/7. And then because this triangle has 3 sides, now they want the slope of AC. We've got coordinates for all the points. We want the slope of AC, segment AC. So we don't need to deal with the B anymore. So I'm going to deal with points A and point C. Yes? So one more time. I need y2, which is 3, minus y1, -4, x2 is 4, minus is in the formula, and then x1. Yes? Yes. Okay, and then we just do our math again. Here's a plus. Here's a plus. So I have 7/8. That won't simplify. So the slope of the segment that connects A and C together, the slope equals 7/8. So you're going to do the slope formula 3 times for each problem. But before you do that, you're going to have to find and locate the address of each of the points on those triangles. Slope formula. Slope formula. The next page simply uses the formula. In fact, you can do this page 7 before you do page 6 if you want, because it gives you the formula at the top. This is the same one we've been using. Slope equals this formula. And all you do here on number 1 is above the -4, we're going to write an X. Above the 2, we're going to write a Y. Above the 5, we're going to write an X, and the 6 is a Y. And then number these, the ones. -4 and 2 will be the X1, Y1. 5 and 6 will be the X2, Y2. Plug them in a formula, do your math, and simplify the fraction. And that's what you'll find is the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points on the graph. The slope. Let's go to page 8. No, we're just going to do 6 and 7 this time. Don't go any further than page 7. We're just going to work little pieces at a time. I don't want to overwhelm, and slope is very important. Every person that has come back from the GED test has said that there's a lot of slope on the test. Lots of slope. So Sherry, I understand you're going to stay with us. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And any questions in here? Of course, I'll be open for questions.